Who wants a little bit of drama? Who wants a little bit of drama? Because we got a little bit. Why isn't Monster Hunter Wilds flopping like Dragon Age the Veilguard from the gamer? Chat, we got the gamer. We got the gamer, and they're spouting shit again. Oh, they're spouting the shit again. Yeah, we're gonna move my model. Oh, we're gonna move my model. Just move my model. There. Wait a little bit. Feed me the drama. Well, we're gonna have a little bit of drama. Wilds is the latest entry in the long-running RPG series. It's the most approachable entry into the franchise yet. It may have lost some of its identity in the process of standing down some of more unique features. I disagree. But the developers made that sacrifice in hopes of reaching a bigger audience. It feels like Monster Hunter to me. Okay. Where have I heard this one before? Oh, right. Dragon Age the Veilguard is the latest entry in the long-running RPG franchise. It's the most approachable entry in the franchise yet. It may have lost some of its identity in the process of standing down some of its features, but the developers made that sacrifice in hopes of reaching a bigger audience. And yet, the Veilguard and Wilds have experienced vastly different fortunes. Gee, I wonder why. Oh, I wonder why. Approachability for me, but not for thee. Monster Hunter Wilds has been a huge hit, shifting 8 million copies in the first 3 days, making it the fastest-selling Capcom game in Capcom history, beating the previous 3-day record set by Monster Hunter World's 5 million copy start. As I write this, Wilds is still the #1 seller on Steam and will likely be sticking around the top 10 for quite a while. Though we don't want to count our chickens before they hatch, it's safe to say the gambit worked. Capcom went after the audience that had been scared off by previous games' unfriendly reputation and reeled them in. What was unfriendly about it? I started with World and it was fantastic. World was literally my first game, and it was not unfriendly. It taught you what you needed to know and threw you at it. That's what Wilds did. And Wilds had a campaign that taught you everything you needed to know during the campaign. By the previous game's unfriendly reputation and reeled them in, hook, line, and sinker, with the streamline, on-ramp, easier fights, and greater emphasis on story characters. Sometimes tells me Monster Hunter didn't butcher their lore and writing for the sake of coastal American activism. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Like, you have the on-rails stuff, which is a little boring sometimes. I wouldn't say the fights are easier. I mean, I didn't cart, but also... Like, I really didn't cart until, like, way far into the low rank campaign, which I think I have that fight on stream. I forget if I do. But that's because I've been playing since World. I've played World. I've played Rise. I've now played Wilds. So, like, I just got better as I kept playing. Worlds was fun. The only real problem was Fire T-Rex, but I beat it with friends. Well, yeah. Anjanath was a gate... I'm struggling to say, like, gate... He was a gatekeeping boss. This is the boss that was going to make or break the game for you. If you couldn't make it past Anjanath, you were probably going to quit. But people didn't. And look where we are now. It's even better. So I don't know. I wouldn't say the fights are easier. There are actually quite a few hard fights, and if you don't react accordingly, you're gonna get clapped. Dragon Age the Veilguard, meanwhile, only managed to shift 1.5 million units in its first quarter. That low number was surprising, given that Veilguard enjoyed EA's best single-player Steam release ever, with a 70,000 launch day concurrent players. $70,000. Okay. But it seems like that strong debut was largely caused by the Dragon Age faithful showing up in huge numbers on the strength of love for the series and strong reviews. Once players actually got their hands on the game, though, the tides quickly turned and Veilguard was unable to break into the mainstream. Gee, I wonder why. Again. Both games were attempting to grow beyond their established fan bases to reach more mainstream audiences and delivered a somewhat watered-down experience. So why did the strategy work so well for Monster Hunter and so poorly for Dragon Age? Room to shrink, the most straightforward answer is that Monster Hunter has had a lot more rough edges to stand off. It's a series that is known for its complex combat, esoteric multiplayer, and interlocking systems that aren't always well tutorialized. Monster Hunter Wilds still delivered on much of what the series is known for, as someone who has played a couple dozen hours of the previous games, but never dove especially deep. Wilds is very recognizable as Monster Hunter. The core loop is still there. It's just that contextualized a bit differently thanks to this entry's greater emphasis on story and characters. Killing monsters, harvesting their parts, turning them in the gear, that's all still there, but with a better on-ramp, lower difficulty, and more narrative hooks. I've got to be honest, there's actually quite a bit of stuff in here. Like, I don't know about the better on-ramp. I wouldn't say anything about the lower difficulty. Like, you're only talking about low rank. Like, once you get into high rank, it's a different ballgame. Like, high rank monsters are specifically built to mess with you. You have Frenzy. You have Tempered. You have, I'm not going to spoil some stuff, but if Monster Hunter fans know when I mean Frenzy, you know what I mean. Like, there's things here, and also there's some returning monsters that are genuinely hard. So you're only really talking about low rank. It's low rank. Of course it's going to be easier. Oh my god. How to tell people they haven't played the full game without telling people they've played the full game. Game journals lead with reasonable takes, so just so they can curveball you with their shit takes. Exactly. That's exactly right. The game also retains much of the series' complexity. You still have a ton of weapon types that each take practice to master. There are multiple currencies you need to collect, crafting to engage with, and thoughtful combat to learn. The Veilguard's problem was that Dragon Age was never as tough to understand as Monster Hunter. Origins had a lot of role-playing depth and detailed real-time with paused battle system. But the previous entries had already moved away from that by the time Veilguard rolled around. The only game for Dragon Age between Origins and Veilguard was Inquisition. There were no other games in that time period, just Inquisition. So that's a really bad example. Because I played a little bit of Inquisition, and it did have the real-time with pause battle system. So... Veilguard was streamlined in every way. It traded Inquisition's open world for a level-based structure, and the levels were hyperlinear, leaving little room for exploration. The dialogue choices were superficial, allowing for a little real roleplay. The combat was fun, but simple. Action RPG fare. The series lore was pared back or ignored. The companions were largely uninteresting. The game began life as a live service game, and it shows in the lack of detail and depth given to the world. It feels like a place you would inhabit with hundreds of other players, not like it was designed to react to your actions. Game journals got a game journals? Yep, this is exactly right. As BioWare remade Dragon Age into baby's first RPG, Larry was stepping in with the crunchier take on the studio's approach to design. Anyone who is disappointed to hear Veilguard had simplified too far could always just start a new Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough. But Monster Hunter is basically the only game of its kind in town. The devs behind Dauntless, an indie competitor, announced that the game was shut down this May, just a month before Wilds came out. If Monster Hunter is your favorite flavor, 90% Monster Hunter is better than no Monster Hunter at all. Making the game more approachable isn't one-size-fits-all tactic. It worked for Monster Hunter because it had enough depth, market share to afford the streamlining. Dragon Age didn't, and cut too close to the bone, which may have killed the series. No, what killed Dragon Age was wokeifying it. They were tried diversifying. They tried being gay, which is bad. Monster Hunter gave us hot characters. They gave us a fairly decent story. I wouldn't call it like the best thing since sliced bread, but you know, it was decent. It had fun monsters, it had fun fights. It wasn't easy by any stretch. It was definitely easier, but not easy. I don't. There's reasons Wilds did so much better than Veilguard. One was gay, one was not. Simple as that. For Dragon Age, the writing really was that bad. Exactly. Like, it's not about making it more streamlined. It's about people don't want the gay. People don't want the LGBT stuff in there. People want game. They want a good game. They want their hot characters. They want their fun gameplay. They want their good story. What was that? Was that any of that in Veilguard? No. Was any of that in Wilds? Yes. All of that was in Wilds. None of that was in Veilguard. No matter what people say about Capcom embracing wokeism, doesn't mean that they're embracing it completely. Wilds is clearly shown they are willing to not push the agenda in favor of game design. Also, it depends on the teams within Capcom. The Monster Hunter team has a real dedicated team that knows what they want to do, and they do it. The formula has stayed amazing from World to Rise to Wilds. I will report back with Generations Ultimate because I got that in the mail a couple days ago. So,